What if I told you that a series of ill-fated cars contributed to the death of one of America's most iconic automotive brands? Pontiac was once a titan of the automotive world, a brand that redefined the muscle car era and captured the hearts of car enthusiasts across the nation. But behind the roaring engines and sleek designs was a story of missteps, corporate decisions, and unfortunate timing that would eventually lead to Pontiac's demise. If you've ever wondered how a brand that brought us the legendary GTO and Firebird could fall so far, then stick around. In this video, we're diving deep into the history of Pontiac, unraveling the tales of the 15 cars that played a pivotal role in its downfall. From groundbreaking successes to catastrophic failures, this is a story you won't want to miss. So buckle up, because we're about to take a ride through the history of Pontiac, a ride that ends in one of the most surprising collapses in automotive history. As far as GM brands go, Pontiac is hardly the oldest. Incorporated in 1926 as a companion mark to GM's Oakland Motors, which was purchased by GM in 1909, the renaming of Oakland into Pontiac proved pretty successful for sales. The name Pontiac came from an Ottawa chief, on whose name the city of Pontiac in Michigan was also formed. In the divisional hierarchy within GM, Pontiac came above Chevrolet and GMC, but fell below Oldsmobile, Buick, and Cadillac. Known as the performance division of GM, Pontiac continued to make cars until 2009, or rather, one last vehicle in January 2010 before finally going defunct. Due to Pontiac's sacrifice, the other GM brands survived, with Oldsmobile also having gone down in 2004. Today, GM is all about Chevrolet, GMC, Buick, and Cadillac, with Pontiac nothing more than a memory. So, here go 15 cars from Pontiac which helped quicken its demise. Number 15. 1971 to 1977 Pontiac Ventura, rebadged and weak Chevy Nova. Technically, the Pontiac Ventura was a rebadged Chevrolet Nova and could have been a great car had GM not meddled with it and made it far less powerful than its Chevy sibling. The car came with a Pontiac 5.7-liter V8 engine, but detuned to literally one-third of its capable power. Sadly, what could have been an excellent pony car was turned into a weak passenger car. Number 14. 1973 to 1977 Pontiac Astre, rebagged and uglier Chevy Vega. For some reason, many of the Pontiac cars were often brutally neutered to make them lesser than their Chevrolet siblings. It's like Chevy was a favorite son and Pontiac was a stepchild. The Astre was a rebadged Chevrolet Vega, which was already pretty terrible. While the Astre was a little more polished on the inside, the exterior looked downright ugly. Number 13. 1980 to 1984 Pontiac Phoenix, the infamous X-body via barn finds. Calling it a Phoenix turned out to be a misnomer, for it may have gone down in flames, but never managed to rise from its ashes. An X-body GM car, the Phoenix, along with the Chevrolet Citation, Buick Skylark, and the Oldsmobile Omega, was plagued with recalls and issues all its short life. Plus, the Phoenix also had the distinction of locking its rear wheels when brakes were applied, making it even more of a pain. Number 12. 1982 to 1988 Pontiac Sunbird, too many issues via Pinterest. Sudden acceleration, boring performance, peeling paint, drab styling, and finally, transmission plus engine issues. The list of woes the owners of the Pontiac Sunbird suffered from was endless. The newly introduced front-wheel drive made it even more boring to drive. Plus, it shared a platform with the Cadillac Cimarron. Need we say more? Number 11. 1981 to 1987 Pontiac T1000, a rebadged Chevy Chevette via Curbside Classic. The Chevrolet Chevette was a failed car, which is why no one quite got the rebadged Pontiac T1000. Not only was it a boring name, but it was also a boring car, plagued with weak and inefficient engines despite the light and sporty build. It also rusted like nobody's business and ended up dying an ignominious death in 1987. Number 10. 1984 to 1988 Pontiac Fiero. Tempered Pontiac via Mecum Auctions. There's a Pontiac Fiero in the TV series Young Sheldon, bought by Sheldon's father to appease his masculinity. As he tries to drive away in style, the rear-engine car sparks up and dies. That summed up what the Pontiac Fiero was, a car with potential, but with problems. It was released too early without proper R&D, which ended up further maligning Pontiac's already dicey reputation. Number 9. 1999 to 2005 Pontiac Grand Am. A bestseller, but with issues via car domain. After the X-body disaster that was the Phoenix, the Pontiac Grand Am was brought in to reclaim some of Pontiac's lost glory. It did sell okay for Pontiac standards, despite the fact that it had poor safety ratings all through. The car drove okay, but often had problems with its power steering, so got an average to bad rap. Number 8. 1988 to 1993 Pontiac Le Mans. The last was the worst via Twitter. At times, the Pontiac Le Mans did shine, considering its 6 generations. Introduced as a Tempest trim, the Le Mans also gave us the Pontiac GTO, for which we'll always be thankful. Sadly, by the end of the 80s, the Le Mans had lost most of its prowess and was a rebadged Daewoo, a subcompact with barely any power. The worst of the 6 generations, this was the end of the Le Mans, and not in a good way. Number 7. 1995 to 2005 Pontiac Sunfire. Took cues from the Chevrolet Cavalier via car specs. The Sunfire replaced the Sunbird. It shouldn't have, because forget being better than the Sunbird, it was worse because it took cues from the Chevy Cavalier. The cabin noise was jet level, though the car did give a decent economy. Things seeped and leaked at regular intervals, plus everything was plastic and vibrated in a chorus that could give the driver tinnitus for years to come. Number 6. 2000 to 2005 Pontiac Bonneville. Lagged behind the competition via Pinterest. It feels strange to include the Bonneville in a list of cars that killed the Pontiac, considering it lasted from 1958 all the way to 2005, but this is how the wind blows. The 10th generation of the Pontiac Bonneville was pricey, lagging behind the competition and a bit of a stylish flop. Plus, while the engine was okay, there were better and bigger ones around, which is why the Bonneville ground to a halt by 2005. Number 5. 2000 to 2005 Pontiac Aztec. Just too damn ugly, via concept cars. The very idea of releasing a car on the unsuspecting public that resembled a Frankenstein on wheels should have given Pontiac pause. Sadly, it didn't, and the Pontiac Aztec took everyone's breath away because of its sheer ugliness that invaded your dreams and ran you down with its strange hood. We'd say this was the car that killed Pontiac single-handedly. Number 4. 2005 to 2009 Pontiac Montana SV6. Pontiac's love plastic phase, via car specs. Hardly had people begun breathing freely on roads again following the exit of the Aztec that Pontiac upgraded its erstwhile ugly Montana into the uglier Montana SV6. It looked like a minivan Barbie would love because of all that plastic. For 2007, they had to drop the AWD option because the 2.9-liter engine generated too much torque. Even the hatches. Number 3. 2005 to 2010 Pontiac G6. The last of the greats. Via drag times. Technically, the G6 was a good car. It ruched out any wrinkles left by the Grand Am, which it successfully replaced. But by this time, GM was in hot soup, and the only bailout was to kill the Pontiac on the whole. So, instead of this car killing Pontiac, we'd say it was murdered by GM to make way for Pontiac's demise. Number 2. 2005 to 2009 Pontiac Torrent. Aged even before launch. Via used. With the Aztec having failed rather spectacularly, Pontiac yet again looked towards Chevrolet for a respectable version of a family crossover, thus rebadged the Chevrolet Equinox into the Pontiac Torrent. The Equinox was a bit aged when they did this, so the Torrent was always a step behind the competition. With Pontiac dying in 2009 to 2010, the Torrent was upgraded and made into the GMC Terrain.
Alternating.
Number 1. 2009 Pontiac G3. Too late, too little. Via AutoHaus FM. A rebadged Chevrolet Aveo, the G3 was the final nail in the coffin for Pontiac. Despite this last effort by Pontiac to revive its sales, no miracle happened, and sales remained slumped. And so, when the last Pontiac G3 rolled off the assembly lines in December 2009, it marked the end of an era. It marked the end of an era for the now defunct carmaker. Well, there you have it. A thrilling ride through the vehicles that played pivotal roles in Pontiac's downfall. From the fierce competition of the muscle car era to the evolving market dynamics that shifted the automotive landscape, these cars didn't just challenge Pontiac, they defined a new direction for the industry. If you enjoyed this journey through automotive history and want to dive deeper into the stories behind other iconic brands and their rivals, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us continue to bring you in-depth analyses and captivating stories from the world of cars. And remember, your thoughts matter to us. Which of these cars do you think had the most significant impact on Pontiac? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a conversation. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your engines running and your passion for cars alive. We've got more exciting content coming your way.